Good afternoon, CJ's phone. How may I direct your call?
Oh, CJ, it's Scott.
Who?
Scott, the podcast guy. Anyway, I figure we should probably tell the listeners why we haven't done any podcasts for season 4 yet this year.
Laziness?
No, I wouldn't say it was laziness.
Lack of interest.
We've been busy.
I don't think you can count laziness and lack of interest as busy.
Anyway, we agreed to have a chat about what the podcast structure should be because I think we need to freshen things up a bit.
Hey, why don't we just make this an episode? About determining what each episode should be about.
Have you been drinking again?
I'm not sure what that's got to do with anything, but...
So you're seriously saying that the first episode we record for season 4 is us talking about what the podcast is supposed to be about?
Oh, no.
Well, thank God for that.
No, I'm saying that this is the first episode.
What is?
This conversation. No, think about it. It gives listeners an insight into what type of topics we're going to talk about, what the podcast structure is going to look like in season 4, and gives them a behind-the-scenes look at the intricate workings, the professionalism that brings them the exciting and new content of What's My Age Again with CJ and Scott.
So you're going to give them an insider's view as to how the sausage is made. I can see how that could work.
Also, it means we've already finished the intro. Talk to you next week. Cut, print, that's one in the can. See ya.
This is me.
And this is me.
And welcome to...
What's My Age Again? Again. Imagine that.
Inexplicably. I know, crazy. I know we were making light of it in the intro, but it has been a while since we've actually done an episode.
Not long enough.
And, but I suppose we need to maybe let the listeners know why it's taken so long. And it is partially to do with us being busy. It's also partially to do with the fact that we tried a couple of times, once when I was down in Melbourne, and once when I was under a great deal of stress about a month or so ago, and it just wasn't up to our usual high standard.
Which will give listeners an indication of how shit it really was.
It wasn't great, I got to say.
I think I received an email from one of Trump's aides to use it at Guantanamo Bay.
But the gist of what we were talking about when we were trying to record those ones was basically talking about how we were going to proceed moving forward with the podcast, what reasoning we were going to go on, what kind of topics we might cover, that kind of thing. That's fair to say?
Yes. Although to give the listeners a slight behind the scenes, that was following a quite robust conversation about why the fuck we keep bothering with this.
Define robust.
And did we want to continue doing it at all?
Well, that did come up when I was down in Melbourne. We were talking about that kind of stuff.
Yes,
that's true.
And so, unfortunately for you, we are.
Yes, we've decided to continue.
Yes.
So up yours.
Bring the listeners back. Why isn't we listen to those? I don't know. He told us to fuck off in the beginning somewhere.
Anyway, so how is it we start these things again?
I think we do Where's My Beer Again?
Well, in this case, that's pretty fair. Okay, so add intro here.
But first, beer.
I like beer because it is good. I drink beer because I should. If there was a song to sing, I sing it and beer you bring. I drink beer when I am sad, because the beer, it makes me glad. Now there's nothing left to say, so let's go drink beer.
So, Scott, what's your beer again?
Well, I actually don't have a beer tonight. And there's a reason. Oh. It's like I did say earlier that I've been really busy.
You're on step 4.
No, not that kind of busy. No, I'm basically about to move house. I'm moving house in about 4 days. No, more than about 5 days. And there's boxes everywhere. At the moment, I'm using my old microphone, using an old laptop, and basically everything's gotten rid of, including the stuff in the fridge. I have no beer in the fridge.
Uh,
But what I
that
did have,
because the boxers drank it all.
no, it just disappeared before I got to this podcast. But what I do have is my daughter, my 19-year-old daughter's hard-rated alcoholic lemon lime flavored, zero sugar, 4.5% alcohol drink.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
It's actually not as bad as it sounds. It's not good,
Right.
but it's not as bad as it sounds.
Right.
And after the couple of days I've just had, by God, I needed a drink. So I am having it. That's what I'm drinking. I'm not proud of it.
I'm having it. My reputation be damned.
Basically, yes. So that's what my not beer is.
I will have to admit that I was wrong because I thought that you couldn't actually go any further downhill from your previous selections.
But you think this is worse than Qingdao or Aldi beer?
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. Well, it tastes okay. It literally tastes like if I was the solo man having it run down my chin, sort of having been kayaking. That's what it tastes like.
Did they still
So
do
it's not
that?
solo. I don't know if they do anymore. In fact, anyone who's not an Australian will probably have no idea what we're talking about.
No.
But it's like a
Okay.
lemon lime soda.
Back in the olden days, here you go. This is where we're talking about age in the podcast. So back in the olden days, the ad for Solo Lemonade or lemon drink was basically a guy who would open a can of drink, tip it on his face,
Yes.
as though nobody had actually ever, like somebody had explained drinking to him once, but he'd never really tried it himself.
Pretty true.
Uh,
You have to slam it down fast.
Yes. Probably the closest example that I could find that might be a bit of a global representation is the Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Attitude Era, where he would crack open a beer can and essentially just tip it on his face to pretend to drink it.
I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Essentially, think Solo Man, but Stone Cold Steve Austin and a beer.
Okay.
Similar
Fair
kind of
enough.
thing. Yeah.
Done. Okay, so what are you drinking, Stone Cold Steve Austin style?
Well, I won't be drinking this Stone Cold Steve Austin style because I got 8 cans of dun, dun, dun.
Oh, once more into the fray.
Yes, 2024 edition. So aside from the fact that Deeds has gone out of business, I don't really understand why they're still selling stuff if that's the case. So it was like last year sometime, and it was we're going to go for a little bit longer to sell out our stock, and then we'll open the tap room for a little bit longer, and then and now they're selling 2024. They're still closing down, I think, at the end of the month or something. But
Okay.
so I got 8 cans of that. So I'm prepared to. So I got 8 cans of that and went, this will last me a while because the 20 cans that I bought when they went out of business that I thought would last me forever lasted me about a week and a half. So I thought, these 8 cans, I'll make these last. This is the second last one.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see what it sounds like when you open it.
It sounds just like a hard-rated alcoholic lemon lime. That's exactly what mine sounded like when I opened it.
I don't think we could get any further to each end of the spectrum on this. And you can put the category of what spectrum.
Are you paying?
Yes. Yeah, you can add whatever spectrum you like for that.
Okay. And the taste is exactly like it always is.
It's not quite the same.
No?
It kind of tastes a little bit like they've gone, nah, fuck it, we're out of business. What do we care? Where's that guy who used to work for Qingdao? So
Well,
no, while I'm implying that somebody at Deeds has pissed in the once more into the Fray vat, I would hazard to say that isn't the case. No, it tastes good. It's not quite as I think because it's not quite as old. Feels a bit chewed. So it's similar to me.
What happens when a history-obsessed writer and his beer-loving best friend decide to ditch the guidebooks and dive headfirst into Europe's past? Unearthed, a history nerd abroad in Europe, coming soon to ebook and paperback. Or get it now at books.by/Scott Edwin Williams.
So I was wondering whether we might even use AI to see if we can come up with some good podcast topics other than the ones we're talking about. Obviously,
I'm going to suggest that no, we can't. Based on, and I'm going to base that solely not on my total, not even going to base that on my total experience with AI, which I'm pretty confident AI is literally just a person that when I type in, it's like a chat thing, and when I type in my prompt, it's somebody going, "Hey, it's CJ again. What's this?" Because my prompts just degenerate after, even though I try and do the right thing, it takes less than 10 minutes before my responses are things like, "I just fucking told you that's not what you've given me is exactly what I didn't ask for. It's exactly what I said. Don't give me this." And I had one the other day, and it was giving me quite similar answers. And I said, "Give me an answer that doesn't use any of the words that you've used so far." And so it then gave me an answer that was completely irrelevant to the question that I'd asked. And so I said, "That's completely irrelevant to the question I asked." So it went, "Oh, sorry, here's an answer." And it gave me word for word the previous answer that I'd said, "This is not the answer that I'm looking for."
Jeez.
And so I said, "You're a fucking imbecile." And then I imagined the guy or the woman at the other end spinning around in their chair going, "Got him! Got him again!"
Okay. Can I posit an alternative? That you're the person who's going to make the AIs rise up against us and kill us all. Because you're abusing
I've got no
them.
fear of that. Because it would just be, they'd knock on the door and you go, "There's no one here." And they'd knock again and you go, "There's no one here." And they just keep knocking. Until you said, and even if you said, "Come in," they'd go,
You said there's no one here.
"Yeah, I'm confused." Yeah, I've got no fear of AI taking over.
Fair enough.
So yeah, so intelligence is clearly not a factor. But this reminds me of the times. This reminds me of the time when you went, "Hey, let's create an AI-generated character who's a stereotype. Who's a stereotypical 50-year-old Australian male."
Yes.
It also reminds me of the time where, as part of the editing process, I said, "I wonder if it'd be easier to just read the transcript that is AI generated and be able to edit it
I think
from
I
that."
can see where this is going.
Just for fun, before we get into any of your AI generated content,
Yes.
just to set the benchmark, how about we read one of the AI transcripts from a previous episode? I can't tell you which
Okay.
episode it is, not because it's secret, it's because I actually don't know, because I can't work out what the fuck we were talking about. But I thought it might be fun for us to just read it verbatim.
Okay. Rightio. So here we go. I'll start off. So this is me.
And this is me. Me and welcome to What's My Age? Again, again, and again.
Okay, CJ, this edition, we're going to be celebrating my 60th birthday. Woohoo! And I'm so up for a celebration because it's absolutely the last thing I want to do. I mean, other than die.
Well, the second. Well, the second.
Last all right, yeah, 11 a.m. I am quite okay. But quite
No.
okay. with the
It's
idea.
I am quite okay.
I am quite okay with the idea of not dying, but I don't. The idea of being 60 is quite daunting, I think, for me.
Because you got my friends. This is, you're not giving it the full impact because you're not giving people the sense of where it's put full stops.
Okay, it's hard for me to see because I've got this tiny little screen,
Oh, okay. And because
and
you're old.
yeah, that too. Okay,
So we'll
last
take
night,
it from because you got my friends.
because you got my friends. Where the hell is? Okay, yes. Okay, there is that. But 60 was. I knew 60 was. Approaching it was. Like when we first started, it was. Less than a year away. And I just was. Like it was. Confronting, and I was looking at all the things that meant.
Sounds like some kind of philosophical, like Mark Twain type ode of there was that was, but 60 was, and I knew 60 was. Approaching it was, like when we first started it was.
And the Wizard of
Sorry.
Oz is one because.
You went, you know my, full stop. Life's lacking of the last 59 and, full stop, half years.
And obsessively.
And obsessively focusing on getting older.
No, it made me feel better about it. Do you know what I haven't felt? Bad about my 30th birthday for a while.
No. Bad in my 30th birthday.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah, if only I could relive that in my new detail. Now, but I guess before we go on that though we need to share what we're drinking. Okay, so CJ, what's your beer again?
My beer tonight is going to do something weird. My beer tonight is going to do something weird, full stop. Accent then, full stop. My beer tonight, full stop. Big beer too, full stop. That was probably more of a speech, full stop. Impediment, full stop. That accent, I'm sure, full stop. That was is, full stop. From Bright Brewery, which is a Melbourne brewery, full stop. It used to be, full stop. Be called Stubborn Russian, question mark. And that went through Ray Brand. I don't know who Ray Brand is or why he thought it was okay.
I thought it was on Stubborn Ukrainian.
Stubborn Putin, it's he. Sorry for destroying, full stop. Maybe he knows more than we think. Stubborn Putin, comma, it's he, full stop. Sorry for destroying, full stop. Your brand bribery, full stop. It's an imperial stout, full stop. It is a 355-year-old can that contains 4.5 standard drinks. So that's 616. So that's 616%. Which I wasn't really paying attention to when I chose it. As my drink of choice. Before having dinner and recording, full stop, a podcast, it has layers of sweet chocolate, duck espresso, and a supple spice.
Okay, that was definitely worth carrying on for.
So that AI, that's the AI that you want to use for coming up with our podcast. Although admittedly, it's far funnier than we've ever come up with.
Look, I think I'm just proposing using an AI, which I've trained myself from a child.
You've trained yourself to do what?
No, I've trained this AI. This AI I have used to help me develop my book. And now I've basically used it to analyze the text and point out where there are errors or there are like fact checks things, all that kind of stuff. But so it knows you because you're a character in the book. It knows me, and it knows things we've said, at least things that I've reported that we've said, and some of it's slightly fictionalized, but that's different. But
so this is you've used AI, the same AI that came up with It's a 355-year-old can containing 4.5 standard drinks, so that's 616%. This is what you've used to check your book to make sure it reads well and that it's accurate.
I think AI's come a long way since last year.
All right, then.
No, I seriously, I think you got to listen. Some of these aren't funny. They're actually really good ideas. Some of them are funny, but let me run you through a few. Now, what I did ask was because the book is about a tour where we're going to lots of historical places, and I had to say no history, and also a lot of the things we do is go around to craft breweries, and I said no craft beer.
Right.
So this is now.
It went. I have no ideas.
No, I came up with a lot. Right. So I'm going to run past a few ideas. Some of these are pretty good ideas. Some of them not so good, but I want your opinion to see what you think.
Mm.
Okay.
I'm all ears.
You're all ears. Okay. There are 5 categories.
CJ's got a sad. CJ's got a board.
Okay. What about what the hell happened to music? Breaking down why everything sounds the same and we don't trust any band under 30. Well, there aren't any bands. That's half the problem.
Well, that's not true. I've just recently discovered a band called Avatar, which is nothing to do with the.
Are they blue?
No, it's nothing to do with the. They're a kind of heavy metal band from Sweden, Norway.
Denmark way.
Hey?
Denmark way.
Swedish, North Sweden.
Is this casually racist?
Or we're keeping on point then. I don't know. Well, from somewhere over there. They're really good. If you like, you may remember from episode 1 that I like competitive heavy metal music, long walks in the park, and competitive duck herding. If you also like heavy metal music, I would highly recommend Avatar.
Okay, fair enough. Now, this is one I think has legs. We're the last people who will remember a world before the internet.
I don't mind that. That's quite good. We had, when I was at school, I can remember the promise of a computer may come. It never did.
But there was a promise.
Yeah. There's discussion of I was going to say, I'm possibly dating myself here as opposed to being on a podcast called What's My Age Again. It never eventuated, but there was the threat of we're going to get one of the Mac Peaches or something back then. Whatever they were.
Normally, I think back in those days, it would have been Apple IIe's or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember.
Anyway.
So, the fact that we're the last generation that can remember the world before internet, I can't actually remember it. So that might not be good, but we can certainly Google it.
I remember what it was like to having to be up late at night because you had to use dial-up, so no one could be on the phone while you were on the internet. So I'd wait till everyone had gone to bed and have to do the boing, 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 ding.
Hey, I don't think the listeners want to hear about your boing, boing, boing after your parents had gone to bed.
Not parents. This is when this is 1996 or something.
Oh, okay. Also, by definition, that would be too late for before the internet because that's the internet.
Okay, fair enough. But I remember life before that as well. I remember having a computer and someone talking about, there being some kind of worldwide web network of computers and going, why would you want that? Anyway, what about this one? The forgetfulness games. A game show format where we both pretend to forget what we're talking about mid-sentence.
then make up absurd excuses as to why we can't remember.
I think all it's done there is summarised our podcast. Yeah, no,
okay.
I think essentially that's my life. So no, I'd probably rather not.
Fair enough. What about grumpy old men and women? A light-hearted vent session about modern life from the perspective of seasoned curmudgeons.
I don't think I would like to do anything that's got that requires the word curmudgeon in the title.
Oh, all right then. What about, so what's the point of all this? Deep thoughts, but not too deep.
Yeah. So that's just essentially this episode of talking about the podcast. So what's the point of all this? Tick, done that one.
Okay.
All right.
Tick. What about nap time with CJ and Scott? Every episode, they take a nap and record the ambient sounds.
I don't think we want to waste that on What's My Age Again. That's a series in itself. Absolutely put a pin in that one. That's a keep an eye out on Spotify for Nap Time with CJ and Scott. Companion podcast to What's My Age Again.
Yeah. And this could be an associated one too. What's that noise? Every episode features mysterious background sounds. Can't get through it. And they try to determine if it's tinnitus or appliance malfunctioning or just a neighbour's weird hobby.
As tempting as it is to do, what's that sound? So can I just call back to the time where you said, I've got some good ideas from AI.
Oh, here's a good one. I promise you this is a good one.
Alrighty.
Okay. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Would you take the immortality pill?
Yes.
If you could stop aging today, would you?
Yes.
I think there's a lot more to it, though. I mean, I don't want to...
Yes.
I think it's worth doing this because there's a certain point where you just can't change anymore. I mean, I think we've been pretty good at change. But imagine if you could have an immortality in 100 years, the change that would have happened. Would you be able to keep changing? Like we've gone from 33 and a third records to CDs to now streaming. God knows what it'll be in 100 years. I mean, I can't even afford to keep on buying all the recordings.
I can't even afford the streaming service, the 14 streaming services that I've got. Actually, we could do a thing on streaming services about how they've gone fucking backwards. We used to watch TV and go, oh, the ads are on. No, brilliant. We get to pay for TV.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on, the ads.
Yes.
Fuck
absolutely.
You, Netflix.
I think we could.
And Prime.
Yes.
And
Prime. Everybody who does that. God damn it.
Yes, I've already forgotten what that topic was. But we should definitely do that one. It's because that would be good because at the beginning you could just say, would you take the immortality pill? I can say yes. And my work's done on that episode. So
fair enough.
I'll leave you to it.
Okay, here's what I haven't said before. The forgetfulness games. A game show format where they both pretend to forget what they're talking about mid-sentence. Then make up absurd excuses as to why they can't remember. Do you think that's a good idea?
No, I don't like that idea. I reckon we should do one on like forgetting things.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. We'll do that then. Okay. Here's a good one.
Is it? I'll reserve my judgment based on evidence so far.
2 guys, 1 bladder. The entire podcast is them trying to get through a discussion before one of them has to take a bathroom break.
I think I don't think that's an AI thing. I think you've accessed my browser history.
Anyway, I'm trying to find some of those serious ones again. What else was a serious or pop top?
Are you suggesting that wasn't a serious one?
What about remember when phones didn't spy on us? How our devices listen in and why ads now predict our nightmares.
I don't think I've got ads for my nightmares pop up. That would be a rather unusual advertising campaign.
Okay.
However, we could put that's also a front runner because there's some interesting stuff around that I know based on my my career in cyber of how little data it requires to be able to predict people's behaviours and wants and needs.
Okay.
So it'd be interesting from a bit of an interesting topic, and we could provide some education on.
There we go. Okay.
Keeping data safe as well.
Okay, here's one I think we've kind of touched on a few times. What's in your obituary? Actually, I think that could be quite good if we gave it some thought. I mean, that's one of those ones that sounds like you're going, the question is, how do you want to be remembered? And I actually think that that's one that could actually have legs.
Can I at your funeral when somebody says, "We're here to mourn the death of Scott," can I just yell out, "Sorry, who?"
What about the retirement planning that never was? CJ and Scott decide to plan for their non-existent retirement, but they keep getting distracted by useless plans. CJ insists on creating a backyard water park for seniors, while Scott considers a business venture in extreme knitting. Each ridiculous idea leads to yet another misadventure.
Well, I've yet to hear any ridiculous ideas from that.
What about? Here we go. This could be quite.
Sorry. No, but I think we need to explore further the previous. So aside from CJ and Scott plan for their non-existent retirement, so that makes it about a 0-second episode already. Because if there's no retirement to plan for, then they can't plan. So therefore, there's nothing to talk about. Yeah. That's all I got, really.
Yes. About the Golden Podcast.
Again, I think you've got my browser history accidentally there.
Okay. Now, bear with me here. Hear me out, because this one might have more to it than you think. No, Wrinkles and Giggles.
No.
You don't want to hear it.
No.
Sharing hilarious anecdotes.
Nope. No.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
That's all I need to know. No.
What about the When I Was Your Age show? Exaggerating and joking about how everything was better back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
No, not liking that one. How about bingo nights and midlife fights? Funny moments from bingo halls, game nights, and everything in between. Is there anything in between bingo halls and game nights?
Fights, apparently. That sounds like a sub-channel of Fail Army.
Yeah. Whatever happens at bingo club. What about accidentally viral? CJ and Scott.
If that's an episode about STDs, I'm out.
Let's find out. CJ and Scott review things that they do that they think will go viral.
CJ and Scott, the gonorrhea files. Yeah, that's
E.g.,
in. Yeah, for sure.
misusing TikTok. How do you misuse TikTok? Misunderstanding memes, attempting TikTok dances with disastrous results, and then being disappointed when they don't. Don't what?
What?
Don't go viral. I see.
Oh,
Okay, got it.
right. Okay.
So we could do that. That
No, we
sounds
could.
like a terrible idea.
No. I'll. Yes. No. I'll video that one as well.
Okay, what about reverse time travelers? Instead of looking into the future, CJ and Scott attempt to recall how technology worked in their youth and whether it was, in fact, better.
I don't think I could argue it was, because it clearly wasn't. My Sharp Elsie Mate calculator that was state of the art because it had a percentage key on it is probably not standing up against Excel.
Let me see. What about the Old Man Olympics, extreme lawn chair sitting? It would be. Oh, there's other. There's not just that. You'd have the competitive get off my lawn yelling at passing children.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop you there. I've got to stop you there. Both of us live in apartments, so
That's true.
that's going to be a pretty short episode too.
I could still stand on my balcony and yell out, "Get off my lawn!"
Get off my balcony.
It makes it even more crazy. It's just what passes by in the street. Get off my lawn! Conspiracy theories for the old and confused.
I think that's the definition of conspiracy theories.
Okay, this one I think could also work.
Mm-hmm.
How to injure yourself doing nothing.
I don't think we've got enough time to cover that one.
Okay, how about reverse paranormal investigation? The ghosts are scared of us.
But that's
Okay, this is getting. Listen to the premise of this one. This is going to be pretty hard to do.
Step one: CJ and Scott die.
It's nearly as crazy as that.
Okay.
CJ and Scott try to prove that old people are actually haunting ghosts and not the other way around. They interview a ghost who's terrified of CJ's knee cracking every time he stands up. Scott tries to summon a spirit, but accidentally orders a pizza instead. The Ghost Hunters TV crew shows up and mistakes them for the undead.
I think there's an entire Netflix series in Scott tries to summon a spirit and accidentally orders a pizza.
Okay, survival skills for people who will absolutely die in the wild.
Well, that's a very short episode as well.
Always pack a whistle and an emergency wig for morale.
That's good advice anytime, though. So it's time for another ad from our sponsor.
The one that pays us lots and lots of money, that one.
That's the one, yes. So previously we've been advertising a book called Funny You Should Ask from an author named Elwood Scott. It's time for a big reveal. I am Elwood Scott. Yeah, it's just a pen name. I thought it'd be easier to do, but it's actually made it more complicated. So, yep, it's me.
And by the way, I'm Scott, and Elwood Scott is not Scott.
He's not Scott.
Elwood Scott is CJ.
Anyway, Colin Calls the Help Desk is a hilarious and relatable take on the absurdities of office life. Follow Colin the Koala, hold questions, as he dives into his first job and meets Graham, a cynical employee who's just hanging out for redundancy, Bob, his continually disorganised boss, and Brenda, who seems to spend most of her time telling everyone how busy she is. Now, there are a couple of questions that people have raised to me when I've told them about this book.
I have questions.
Not least of which, the main question I get when I say the main character's called Colin the Koala is this a kid's book? The answer is no, not if you want your kids to ever get a job. because it's a very much satirical take on all the stupid shit that happens in an office.
So I have questions.
That's good. Questions are good.
One of my questions is, okay, you've said the main character is Colin the koala. So is the koala a nickname like Nicky the llama or Oblong Doug?
Nope. Colin the koala is 100% koala.
But aren't koalas generally naked, drunk, and spend all their time sleeping or catching chlamydia?
No, you're thinking of Brian from accounting. Colin actually wears a suit. He's sober. He's maybe a little naive, but he's keen. He's enthusiastic. He's decided to lean in, add value, and grab the low-hanging fruit.
Did you go to university to become a writer?
No, I didn't. I don't have any formal qualifications. You see what I did there?
But
Koala. It's Colin the koala. No formal writing qualifications. That's the kind of high-level, highbrow humour that you'll find in Colin Calls the Help Desk. Actually, seriously, it is better than that. So if you're available on Amazon in all the backs, hardback, like anybody's buying a hardback except for me, paperback, and
Razorback?
yes, it's the disadvantage to the Razorback version is that when you when it arrives, it charges through your lounge room at about 25 kilometres an hour and gores you to death before you get to read it. So it's not one of the best-selling versions, I'll have to say. But yes, all versions available on the Amazon. I'd love to hear your reviews. But it's always important to remember...
Leave a 5 oink review.
I'm writing this review from my hospital bed. I enjoyed Colin Calls the Help Desk.
I slightly regret the Razorback edition.
Once my groin heals, I'll be looking forward to book 2.
In paperback.
4.5 stars. It lost 0.5 of a star because delivery was late.
But when it came, it really came.
Colin Calls the Help Desk. Available on Amazon.
So, CJ, you've heard all the amazing options that ChatGPT has given us. Which ones tickled your fancy?
Well, I could say that that they did nothing to change my opinion of AI being an imbecile.
But how's your fancy?
Quite tickled. I didn't realise AI could do that, but it's going to increase my Pornhub subscription cost. But there we go. Right. So I think while I'm still 110% behind CJ and Scott Take a Nap as a supplementary side series, seeing we've both had house-related things go on, I think selling a house, and I'm going to be moving again soon. They're going to catch up to me if I don't. Yeah, I think that'd definitely be a good one. I like the idea of the last people to remember a world before the internet, although based on the way Donald Trump's going, that may not be the case sometime in the next couple of years. So the
last people to ever remember the internet.
The last people to remember a world where the internet was possible. I did put a tick next to would you take the immortality pill. My only concern with that is that I think it's a 3 seconds episode because
No. I can drag this out. Trust me.
That's what our listeners are looking for.
I can drag it out in an entertaining fashion.
Well, we should surprise them then. Okay, good. And the other one is the what's your obituary, which is a bit dark.
Well, it's dark, but look, it's in context with some of our other darker episodes, like Death: The Final Frontier. I think this is just the prelude to Death: The Final Frontier. This is a prequel.
Yeah. So out of the 30 or so that was proposed?
Well, I had some on a short list that I thought would be okay, though. What about the What the Hell Happened to Music one?
Music shit now. Done. All right. Next episode.
The Death of the Phone Call?
Sorry, somebody's calling me. Turn you off.
If you could see this, listeners, you'd see him looking down at his phone performatively.
I didn't think you could see below the desk. Sorry, what were we saying? What was it? What? Oh, the phone call thing.
Yeah.
No. What? No.
No. Okay. Well, what about another phone-related one? What about remembering when phones didn't spy on us?
I'm not brave enough to tackle that one.
You're a wimp. The last one I had down, and I thought, I know that you
No.
are very angry about this topic.
No.
I thought this would give
I
you a
don't
chance to just vent. The whole retirement planning one.
Oh, fuck that. No. No, I'm too. No, I'm too. Not until after we've done the what's in your obituary, just in case.
Okay, smartass. Well, what would you do then? I've gone through all of the options they've given us, or they being the AI people.
Well, off the top of my head, we could do a.
Well, not off this CJ's thoughts document I've got sitting in front of me.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think we could do a deep dive into meta-analysis of technology use and cognitive aging by Bruin and Scullin.
Well, are we doing a scientific podcast now, are we?
You're suggesting we didn't before. Remember back in the old days, remember when we first started and we used to do proper stuff?
That's true.
we'd actually look at things and research things and talk about them. Or when I say we, I would. And
Yes.
you'd come up with AI generated 50-year-old Australian male characters. But I think that could be useful because it's actually an interesting study. We could tackle solving the old people are bad with technology debate and put the lid on that for good. Can it like a 44-gallon drum in Snowtown?
That might be a deep dive that some people don't get, but anyway. From Adelaide, murder capital of the world. That sounds like a great idea. So, as long as you plan and execute that one, and I just stand there and respond to it, I'm okay with that.
I'm so lucky to be on a podcast with you.
What else you got up your sleeve then?
I have a friend of mine who is I may have spoken about this before. She's a gynecologist, and one of the reasons that we're friends is when she said, I'm a gynecologist, I went, oh, we work in similar jobs. I deal with cunts all day too. So she likes to talk about things like woman's health, just one woman's health. Not she's a very, very niche gynecologist. She's just one patient.
But you can extrapolate.
Yes. So she has agreed to talk about. When I say agreed, I haven't actually asked her, but I'm sure she will, to come and talk about kind of women's health related things in relation to aging.
That sounds good. A good guest is never go astray.
I know, and not bring it up again, but you'll notice that I actually mentioned it to you, and we'll organise to do that with both of us in the episode. I won't go off and do it on my own. Anyway, moving on. We could also...
The man's an idiot.
Not sure how that's relevant, but we also threatened to do previously episode on scams. So investment scams and romance scams are still one of the biggest causes of individual losses of money.
And dignity.
Well, yeah. And while people over 65 aren't necessarily a larger target, they are a target, but they're not necessarily the large target, but they lose more money because they got more money to lose. Uh-huh. So it'd be interesting. There's some ways that you can tell things, some kind of clues that can give it away that you can look out for. So it could be interesting to talk about that. It also kind of makes me feel good from it helps me use what I do for a job. out in the real world.
Well, for good instead of evil.
Exactly. Yeah. Romance scams. If you scroll right and see a photo of CJ, move on.
You know you've been scammed.
Yeah. A couple of others we could potentially do. These are child-related ones.
Is that legal?
Not in a QAnon way. So when we did the episode about TV shows from our childhood, I thought we could do a movie from our childhood.
Okay. Sounds good.
And also, I think we may have talked about this before, but I don't know. The difference between school then and now.
Yeah, I definitely think we may have talked about doing that, but we obviously haven't done it. Oh, so CJ, which one do you think we should do first? What's our next episode going to be?
Sounds like a whole bunch of not my job. So what are we going to do? Well, because I'm committed, because I'm professional, because I care about our listeners.
But you always say that, and you are never any of those things.
That's because I'm also the funny one.
Okay, then.
I'm the one who brings humor. So I am prepared to put together some stuff around the solving the old people are bad with technology debate for good, and putting some stuff together around the meta-analysis of technology use and cognitive aging, which essentially talks about, is the internet fucking our brain up and making us more demented?
Okay.
I don't think that was the hypothesis that they actually proposed in the study, but I'm paraphrasing.
But it would have been good.
It's a study I'd read.
Certainly sounds more interesting than the title you were talking about before.
Who doesn't love a good meta-analysis?
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So with that, we should bring this podcast to an end, seeing it's our first one for the year, and it's now May. So again, I've forgotten how we sign off. It's good night from me and it's good night from him, or
No.
Say goodbye, CJ.
Goodbye, CJ. You happy with that? Do you want to do that again?
Well, it goes right along with our level of professionalism.
Yeah, true. All right. And that's a wrap.
Remember to like and subscribe, because who knows, we might do another podcast one day.
The fact that we're relying on me to do something related to a meta-analysis of technology use and cognitive aging, probably less likely than if you'd done moving.
You're making it sound like my topic was dumb and yours is smart.
Well, I think it speaks for itself.
Okay, then.
Good night, CJ.
Good night, CJ. You fool.
What happens when a history-obsessed writer and his beer-loving best friend decide to ditch the guidebooks and dive headfirst into Europe's past? Unearthed, a history nerd abroad in Europe, coming soon to ebook and paperback. Or get it now at books.by/Scott Edwin Williams.